Hi there, this is Georgia Stathis at starcycles.com, and I'm giving you a little bit of an insight into this full moon that's coming up on Monday, October 6th. It will be a full moon at the middle degrees of Libra and 14 degrees of Aries. Now, that's a very interesting degree because it turns out that if you look at the United States Declaration of Independence chart, regardless of whatever chart you use, because everybody's got a different time, Saturn is at 14 degrees of Libra. Now, what is Saturn? Saturn is the law, ethics, what we perceive to be real versus what we perceive to be not real. And the thing about this upcoming full moon is that not only do we have, because the country is a Cancer, which is usually concerned about families and nurturing and food, but this full moon is in total conflict with the United States sun. In addition, we also have Chiron, which every time we have Chiron returns with this country, we seem to have a lot of issues. 1974-ish was when the Nixon Watergate issue came up, where it was discovered and he finally resigned. We have a lot of things bubbling right now beneath the surface of the United States. And for you personally, I would say with the moon in Aries and with Mars in Scorpio, which can kind of ignite fires, literally ignite fires, or ignite you if you don't like what somebody is saying or you get argumentative. Be a little careful. Think before you speak. Think twice before you react. Be more strategic in your response to people. If you're wounded, and the moon is in Aries with Chiron, which could say there could be emotional wounding with family or people you're close to or people you trust. Or maybe there's some sort of change that's going on in a very close family or friend relationship right now. Try to be the bigger person of the two and think about what they're going through, regardless of what you think about how they think or their intellect or whatever. It's always better to step away than get overreacting. Now, the other thing that's happening, because we did have a new moon solar eclipse on September 21st, right before the fall equinox started on the 22nd. That one was 29 Virgo, but really, if you roll it over, it's to 0 Libra. So even though this full moon is not exactly on the same degree of that eclipse, it's within range, let's put it that way. So, the world is sort of getting ignited all the way around us. On the West Coast, where I will be until I go back to the East Coast in January, we have Uranus, which can be tremors. It can be storms right at the ascendant position of this full moon. And so, one of the things I always suggest to people is be earthquake ready, be fire ready wherever you live in the world, that we're moving into a new season. And literally, when we came into the fall equinox, which was on the 22nd, we came in with an eclipse. So, the good news about that eclipse is that in this next week of October 6th, during the full moon week, Venus, over the next 4 or 5 days, will be heading towards that eclipse degree. So this really does maybe allow for some sort of compromise or some sort of discussion with each other about what is a better way to do things, who's the better person, a little bit of give and take. But that all depends on how you react to things. If you react to things where people are poking you, like you poke a bear, if you will, and you just answer immediately, that's really not going to serve you as much as really think, is it worth the argument? Is it really worth the argument? And consider the source that you're responding to. Some people don't have all the information, and a lot of people think they have all the information. So, it's a week where watch your temper when you're driving, be very careful in terms of trying to change something that's not ready completely to be changed, because we are moving, here at the beginning of October of 2025. We are moving into the next 2 or 3 months where Saturn, which had been in Aries, is now going back to Pisces. Neptune, which had been in Aries, is going to be going back to Pisces very, very soon to finish its run. Neptune goes back to Pisces on October 23rd of 2025, just a few weeks going forward. And it'll be really interesting to watch that period of time between October 23 of this year and January and February, particularly January 26th of 2026, where Neptune will finally go into Aries and stay permanently. So there's this period of time between the October date, late October date, which is coming very quickly in the next couple of weeks after this full moon, and late January, where a lot of things are going to be washed away, if you will. And I mean, we could actually see some flooding, flash floods as well, because it's interesting. These planets, Neptune and Saturn, are in the last few degrees of Pisces, which is in the sky. Very interesting. In the part of the sky where you see all this water, the Sea of Eridanus, and, Cetus the whale, and, Andromeda the chained woman, and, Pegasus, thank God, flying over Andromeda, she's about to be freed from bondage or released from bondage. So there's a lot of releasing from bondage, a lot of letting go after trying to let go of things in the last 2.5 years that will be happening at a very, very fast pace between late October, mid-November of 25, going into late January and mid-February of 2026. It seems like a tidal wave of change, which is just in the media and all the things we're seeing in the courts. My personal feeling is things are coming to a head. I think things are coming to a head politically, personally, and I think personally in people's families, homes, relationships, resolutions are coming. Because once Saturn finishes with all of this, and Saturn goes into Aries in February, and Neptune goes into Aries in January, Aries is ruled by Mars, which is exactly what are we doing here? Let's try to do something different. So, there is hope. The key thing in this next full moon, in this next couple of weeks when it starts on October 6th, is just be mindful of how you say things. If you've been working on a project for the last 3 or 4 months, start crossing your, T's and dotting your I's, double check the paperwork, because we are going to have, starting on, I think it is Mercury retrograde, not right away, but that's coming up November 9th. So between these last 2 eclipses and this full moon and November 9th, when Mercury goes retrograde, it's a good time to kind of put a few templates together. If you've been working on agreements or contracts with a project, it's a good time to sit down with, no interruptions and go, okay, what can we get rid of here? And, it's very interesting. We, government in the United States just closed down a couple of days ago, and it might be a shutdown for a little bit longer until we get past this full moon, which is with Chiron. Which was in the United States Declaration of Independence chart, which does suggest, Chiron, it's not a planet, it's a comet. It was discovered in the late 70s. And it's an interesting comet because it's still here. He's the wounded healer in myth and story. But if you want to think in a more objective way, Chiron orbits between Saturn, which is very traditional thinking and structured and fearful thinking, and Uranus, which is out of the box of the visible fields. And so he's kind of a bridge between the old and the new. And if any of you do get my newsletter, which is free, occasional, but free, I just sent out a newsletter a couple of weeks ago on the history of the undergrounds in American history that always seem to show up when change is about to happen. And I think if you're interested in getting that, you could write to me at stathis.georgia@gmail.com. Or you can sign up for the free occasional newsletters for when another one comes out. You'll get it. There's no fee. I very rarely do them. But I'm very proud of this last one because it does show how patterns repeat themselves, especially in the American historical cycle, if you will. And so with that, I wish you the best. Thank you for attending the YouTube channel. Thank you for going to our weekly forecast at Star Cycles. And if you want a lot of information on research for astrology, please go to our really wonderful foundation, alexandriaibase.org. Look around, do a little research. And if you like what you see, we're really building it up. We're going to be doing some really fantastic AI work with it in this next year. And if you like what you see, because it is an effort of the heart for the last 15 or so years, we'd love to get your support. Thank you again. Have a great full moon.